Hey team, welcome to another Bullpen Bulletin with Coach Hart and Building Better Baseball. We are getting into a 4-part training called The Flow of a Season, and this is a coaching workshop. So this is going to be like I said, a 4-part series where we're going to go over and dive in to everything you need to do to prepare in the preseason. Specifically in part 1 is the preseason. Then we're going to go into the early season and then mid-season and then late season. So this 4-part coaching workshop, the flow of a season, basically we're going to take you through the entire season of what you need to do and what you need to prepare for. So let's get into it. Remember, I'm Coach Hart. This is Building Better Baseball. This is the best place for baseball education. So let's get into the flow of the season coaching workshop. And this is part 1, the preseason. So the first thing we're going to talk about is what to expect in this training, okay? Now, this workshop will focus only on 4 parts of the season. So this one, the part 1 is preseason. Part 2 is going to come out next week, and it's going to be early season. Part 3 is what we focus on mid-season. And then the 4th part is the late season or the end of the season, or what we're going to talk about, all right? Each part will cover what you'll need to prepare for, what practice plans should look like, and when to focus on different aspects of the game. And what I say here is it's basically a what to do and teach when roadmap for your entire season. So let's get into it. Now, your preseason preparation, all right? Before we start, this timeline, it won't look the same for everybody. All coaches are different. So I know that a lot of coaches, they like to prepare a whole bunch. Some coaches like to prepare a little bit or just what's comfortable for them. Everybody is different. So this is just kind of like a general guideline of everything you need to have done in the preseason before the season starts. So do it on your own timeline. Just make sure we check off everything on this list. All right. This list is everything you'll need to have done before the season starts. So complete it on your own schedule, like we just talked about, right? Completing this list of tasks will have you fully prepared to start the season with confidence. And that's a huge thing is when you are fully prepared to start the season, you have confidence about that season and in your abilities to coach that season. If you are not prepared and you're starting the season not having done all of the things that you needed to do in the preseason, that kind of wanes away your confidence and it's just causing you to have extra work when the season starts. And when the season starts, you don't want to have extra work. All you want to focus on is the season itself. You want to already have everything done. So let's get into the checklist. Now, your preseason task checklist. All right. First thing, establish your coaching staff. So, and before we get into the rest of it, I know I don't have everything listed that like everything that you could possibly do. Some coaches like to do more, some less. But these are definitely the general things that you need to have done. So I don't have everything in here. And if I did miss something, you could definitely leave it in the comments for other coaches to look at as well. So establish your coaching staff. So make sure in the preseason you know who you're going to coach with because everything that you do to prepare in the preseason will have to be with these coaches and working with these coaches. So you're not going to do it alone. Hopefully you're not alone. You're going to do it with your coaching staff that you're going to have, okay? Next one is establish your team manager or managers who handle administrative tasks. So these managers, they will handle stuff like scheduling and field permits and getting COIs for tournaments, certificate of insurance, team snap operations or things like that. Uniforms. So uniforms is a huge thing. So they would basically prepare all the kids and make sure all the kids have the appropriate uniforms. So I know that some coaches do not have a manager and some coaches have all of this to do as their own tasks. And that is a lot. That is a lot to handle, especially if you're the coach, you know? So hopefully you can find yourself a team manager, most likely a parent. I know that when I coached my first couple of years of coaching, I had a team mom be our team manager, and she handled all of the other things that are listed here. And really, all I had to worry about was coaching and scrimmages and things like that, right? So try to find yourself a team manager who's willing to take on the job of administrative tasks like all these things, okay? You need to finalize your roster. You have to know who's going to be on your team. If you are lucky enough to have a final roster before the season, then great. If you're still trying to pick up some players, then that's your situation. That's fine too. But if you can, try to finalize your roster a couple of weeks before the season starts so you know what you're working with and you know who you're going to be coaching. Okay. Register for league play, all right, and scrimmages. So scrimmages are usually before the league play starts, just to get your feet wet for your team and everything. So make sure you register for your league, whatever you're going to play in, and reach out to some other coaches around the area, schedule some scrimmages, get your team out there and play against another team, okay? The next one, tournaments. Figure out what tournaments you're going to be in. Decide how many tournaments throughout the season, decide how far you want to travel, and the time of the season. Do you want them to be early in the season, mid-season, late season, however many, right? So figure out everything that you want to do with tournaments, and it's important to do this in the preseason because that will help you plan out your practices and plan out everything that you're doing in season because you want to work around those tournaments, okay? Fundraising. So a lot of teams, they have some expensive tournaments that they go to. And I know if you're like in a recreation program and you don't really do tournaments, then that doesn't apply to you. But if you do tournaments, fundraising is a huge thing. So decide what type of fundraising you want to do and how much you want to do and how much you want to raise. So all of that should be done in the preseason. The next one, identify parents who can help. So it's really hard, especially even if you have a couple coaches to help you, having those parents on call of who is able to help, that is super helpful in a last minute situation. Let's say that there's a practice where a coach just reaches out and say, this happened and I can't make it to practice. Reach out to that parent and say, hey, I know that you applied to be like a parent who can help. Is there any way that you can help with today's practice? So know which parents on your team will be able to help you in times of need where you may not have a coach or you may be doing something pretty big where you need more help than just the coaches that you have. All right, so identifying the parents who can help is super helpful in the preseason. So moving on with the checklist, all right? Now, this is where you're getting into kind of you and your team, okay? Develop and refine your coaching philosophy. Now, your coaching philosophy, if you've seen any videos that I've done before about it, it's super important. It is basically how you want your team to operate and what you value and what your beliefs are about baseball and how you coach and how you handle your team. So if you don't have one, develop one in the preseason, and that will be your guidebook and your guide throughout your entire season. Or if you have one, you can refine it. So if there's something that you don't necessarily agree with anymore or that you want to make better, then you can refine your coaching philosophy. But make sure you have your coaching philosophy done by the first practice. All right. Write realistic goals for the season. So it's super important, as we all know, to have goals to accomplish. All right. And make sure they're realistic. All right. If you're kind of an up and coming team and you've never played before and you may not have the most success in the season, it probably won't be a realistic goal to win the whole league, right? But so set realistic goals for your team, for yourself, for your coaches, for individual players. As many goals as you want, make sure you have those goals written down so you can refer back to those so you're working towards those throughout the season, all right? Develop your practice plan blueprint to use throughout the season. This is super helpful and saves so much time throughout the season when you're making practice plans, is to just have a general blueprint, all right? The blueprint that I have down in the description, it's a PDF guide, you can download that. That is a blueprint, and it's just a layout of how practice should be, and you can just kind of plug in the different things that you're learning, right? So the blueprint would look like a warm-up, and then your main idea or main teaching thing, and then the game, and then whatever, right? So you can just each practice kind of plug in what you're working on that practice, and that saves you so much time because every single practice you don't have to create an entire new practice plan, right? So just create your practice plan blueprint to use throughout the season. All right. Establish indoor practice backup plan for inclement weather. So as we all know, baseball is affected by rain, by weather, right? If you have a practice and it gets rained out, if you have an indoor facility as a backup plan, that will save you a lot of time and get all that extra instruction when other teams in your area that you play, they may not have that. So you're getting that extra practice when they're not, right? So having that indoor practice backup plan is a really, really helpful tool that you can plan out in the preseason, all right? So this is huge. Write a list of everything you want to teach your players, including the skills, including what plays you want to run, including situational baseball, everything you want to teach. And I know it's going to be kind of a lot, but we are going to build off of this point in the next couple parts of this workshop, because this is a huge list that you're going to use and you're going to keep throughout the season. And like I said, we're going to build on this list. So make sure you do this in the preseason so that when you are in the season, you can refer back to it and kind of organize what you want to teach each practice. So this is a huge thing to accomplish in your preseason. And the last one is schedule your preseason parent meeting. This is enormous. This is huge. Your preseason parent meeting is where you set the tone for your parents. You let them know everything that you're about, your coaching philosophy, what you expect of your players, what you expect of the team this year, and most importantly, what you expect of the parents. All right. I know that youth baseball and parents, they kind of get a bad rap sometimes, and sometimes it's justified, sometimes it's not. You're making sure in this meeting that you and your parents are getting on the same page of we are all on the same team. So let's work together and work for the kids to make this team and make each individual kid better. Right. And also, like I said, you're going to go over your schedule, you're going to go over your tournaments and all of your ideas throughout the season. This is where you're going to communicate to the parents, is in your preseason parent meeting. Okay. So this was, like I said, just kind of a crash course guide on everything that you should have done in the preseason. I know I didn't include it all. Like, I didn't include winter workouts or anything because that would just kind of be a lot. Not everybody has winter workouts, but everybody has baseball. Everybody has a season. Everybody's a coach, right? So these are definitely the things that you should accomplish in your preseason. And like I said, this is part 1 of 4 of this flow of the season coaching workshop. So as you can see, this part 1 is everything you should have done. In the early season, part 2, we're going to go over everything you should teach. And then going in the mid-season, late season, and we're going to kind of take you through the entire season of how you should kind of lay it out and how you should plan to have the most success. Okay. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and hopefully you're looking forward to all 4 parts of this series, okay? So before you go, grab your free guide if you don't already have it. There's a free practice plan blueprint, as I said before, down in the description. I made it for you for free to help you out. There's also a whole bunch of them down there, so feel free to grab what you like, all right? And don't forget, this is Coach Hart. This is Building Better Baseball, the best place for baseball education. So I will see you in another video in part 2 real soon.